Greetings and welcome to the Warhammer 40,000 kill team video, where today I'm going over the most fun kill teams. But before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video, if you found it useful and helpful. Remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, and a link on Games, and a link in Discord code Crossfire Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But yeah, let's get on with today's video. So yeah, today I'm talking about just something simple and nice. Everything's okay, don't worry about it. The game is fine. So I decided to talk about just kill teams I found the most fun to play, as well as play against. So this is kind of, you know, normally I focus on competitive content, but I wanted to do something a bit more positive and relaxed, which, you know, still can be quite competitive. So I thought about what are my 3 most fun kill teams. And I've got some qualifying factors, so they have to be easy to play. For example, one fun kill team I really like is Hand of the Archon, but that's not on the list because they are really hard to play. You've got this fun tempo where you get pain tokens from injuring and killing stuff. But the problem is it's really quite hard, especially with the recent nerfs they've had. So they're not easy to play. So a fun kill team needs to generally be easy to play, not too weak or too overpowering. You don't want something that's too oppressive, but at the same time too weak. You need that nice middle ground. And then, oddly, they do need to be thematic. I know, we kind of rib on the game a lot, but, you know, you want to play something that feels like they're actually the race from Warhammer 40,000 that you're playing. And then, yeah, they have to be kind of easy to collect. So, you know, not all of them are one-box kill teams, but being a one-box kill team helps. So these are kind of my qualifying factors for what makes a kill team really fun. So in my number 3 spot, we have Nemesis Claw. They are primarily a close combat focused kill team. They mostly have pretty much close range melee operatives. They do have the Fearmonger, who has a scoped bolt pistol and grenades, but that's still mostly a melee operative, but with zone control. And then you can still take a gunner or heavy gunner, but they're mostly about getting into your opponent's face and literally cutting people up. They have lots of great melee ploys. So they have stuff like We Have Come For You. So when they do a charge as part of their first action of an activation, you take D3 damage. They get rerolls against wounded operatives. And also they have stuff like falling back from combat, striking first, you know, before your opponent as a single strike rate against wounded operatives charging you, that kind of stuff. They are also only 6 operatives, so they are an elite kill team. Everyone's 14 wounds with a 3-up save. So they're actually quite simple to play, you know. They do have a high skill ceiling, but they're also very forgiving. They are literally very thematic, their rules in Midnight Clad benefit from them hiding in the shadows, as well as stuff like Return to Darkness, so falling back away from your opponent. So they have a lot of neat tricks that mirror how the Night Lords work in general. You've got decent shooting defense, as I said, you know, in Midnight Clad, so you count as obscured if you're more than 8 inches away from enemy operatives and within control range of heavy cover or underneath a vantage point. So even if you're engaged, you can be in the open, but still brooding in the shadows, so you're harder to shoot at. They do love beating up Imperial operatives, so you do get a ploy that gives you Relentless when you're fighting operatives with the Imperial keyword. Well, actually, you get Ceaseless against Imperials, and if they're Loyalist Space Marines, you get Relentless instead. And considering a lot of the meta is Loyalist Space Marines, this is very good for you. And, you know, they actually have a lot of Psychers. Psychers which aren't really too strong in terms of, normally when you look at Kill Team, Psychers in Kill Team are very they're heavily either debuffing you or have psychic powers that, you know, do a lot of damage to you. Whereas with Nemesis Claw, their Psychers actually feel like they're offshoots of Curse, because you've got your Night Lord Visionary who has prescience points and then can either use them to generate a command point, ignore a single hit, or delay an activation. And then you've got the Ventriloquist who uses its psychic abilities along with the corpse of a dead foe to basically confuse the opponent and tell them to basically move out of position, you know, make them charge, that kind of thing. You know, change their order, which is really kind of nice. You know, it's a new way we haven't seen Psychers before until this point, which is they're strong, but in more of instead of like aggressively debuffing you, they're more like passive, you know, and it's kind of tied to fate, you know, like how unreliable Kurz's psychic powers were, which is really nice. And yeah, they're a 1-box kill team, so they're really easy to collect. You know, you don't really need more than 1 box. So if you're trying to play something fun, this is great. You know, as I said, they also have some neat tricks like Vox Scream, so they can shut down your opponent, like you can stop your opponent from activating an operative. It does cost more the more you use it, but it's really good, like just representing the terror tactics that the Night Lords use. So Nemesis Claw are really fun, and you know, even after the recent nerfs, they're still fun to play and more fun to play into because they're not as oppressive anymore. But yeah, they're just a really great kill team, like good if you're a new player or you're looking for something to, you know, just be a little less complex. But as I said, there's still this depth to the kill team if you want to go into it, because, you know, you've got all the timing with Vox Scream, your psychic powers, when to use your prescience tokens and so on. But they're just really fun, like one of the best designed teams in the game. At my number 2 spot, we have Vespid Stingwings. We can be bees. We can be free like a bee. We can play for 30 minutes like a bee. And there's, you know, I love bees. There's no way you can prove that I made this entire video just to give that spiel. But they're also 11 operatives. They're a 1-box kill team. So all you need is 1 box, which is amazing. They move up and buzz. Literally, you just run into your opponent and you start buzzing. You know, you can buzz like a bee, twerk that buzzy butt, you know, just like kill your opponent's operatives and do the buzz dance. And yeah, just never tell me the odds. Let's see what those dice roll. So, you know, most of the kill, well, pretty much all the kill team hits on 4s, and their main gun is unlimited range, which is pretty good, but it's free damage, piercing 1, and then on a crit, it does 2 damage. So every crit you roll does 2 additional damage. So ideally, you're looking to roll crits. You know, you've got your communication points, which, you know, your communion tokens, which is all right, but generally, this kill team is basically rolling casino dice. How hot can you roll? You do have a shooting point that, as long as you've moved, gives you balanced when you shoot. And, you know, if you don't use any communion tokens with your warriors, you can then use one to re-roll a dice. So you can just keep increasing the odds of rolling those crits. So, you know, very on brand for me, which is great. They are oddly great in melee as well as shooting. So in shooting, everyone has piercing 1, but they can be quite unreliable. But in melee, they're also pretty good. If you spend a command point, they hit on 3s, and their free attacks hitting on 4s, 3/4. And then if you take all their equipment, they'll have lethal 5-up, stun, and ceaseless. So especially into like 7 and 8 wound teams, all of a sudden they can just charge in, hitting on 3s, lethal 5-up with ceaseless, and reliably get these kills, which is really, really good. And even into more like dedicated teams, because you've got stun, when you roll that crit, you strike and then, you know, block one of their hits. So oddly, the team is actually pretty good in melee for a CP cost and some equipment investment. They can open doors now. So doors, you know, normally when they do mission actions, they have to spend a communion point. Now they can just open doors normally. They are a bit weaker on Galadark. You know, they haven't learned how to fly through doors. They're still too civilized to just orderly walk through doors instead of flying through them. But oh my gosh, they are really fast with fly. When you're playing on kill zones like Vocus, they can do really impressive feats, especially stuff with like the Sky Torture, who can like set up on the Vocus 2nd floor, because when they fly, they ignore vertical distance and they're effectively teleporting. They don't get extra bonuses to their movement, but all of a sudden when you can effectively go infinitely high and then infinitely low, it means they have this really like multiple wide angles of attack. Also, you can do war crimes and you have maximum stealth. You have several operatives that just have radioactive weapons that when they hit the opponent, they give them tokens that then do D3 damage every time those operatives activate, which is really cool and also kind of illegal. And they have an operative who has a melter bomb and is literally maximum stealth. So they've got the Shade Strain, so it's got stealth gear. So if you're not within 6 inches of it, it's just not visible, which is really good. And yeah, you know, ignores piercing because it's a stealth generator. So you're really incentivized to get up close. You know, you've got your communion helm. which is totally not a mind control device. And then you've even got, you know, you've got your emotional support drone, who does actually buff the kill team, giving everyone lethal 5-up and saturate as long as they're within 6 inches of the drone and it's visible to everyone else. Well, visible to its shooting. So you actually get a lot of like really cool synergies. The drone is oddly really tough at shooting with a 2-up armor save. It's only 5 wounds, but it's got a 2-up armor save and is fast, movement 8 with fly as well. So yeah, this kill team is super fun. Oddly, it might even be a meta threat, like at the moment. Like we're still feeling out the new edition, like the new season with Approved Ops 2025. But for example, not to like focus on tac ops and stuff, but this kill team is amazing with flank because you just want to be in your opponent's face. So you literally just move up, you start blasting, you start charging, you start buzzing. It's great. This kill team is so much fun to play, and even so much fun to play against because you're literally like everyone's 2 APL. All they're just doing is going to come and shoot at you. You just have to like embrace the swarm and hope you either outbuzz them or they don't outbuzz you. But yeah, Vespid Stingwings are great, so much fun. And then for my most fun kill team, we have Wrecka Krew. So I am a high roller. Most of your shooting basically hits on 5s or more. You have got options to hit on 4s, namely with leaders and well, with your leader and more stationary rocket launchers, but then they go down to heavy dash. But, you know, you're rolling 6 dice, which is actually really powerful. Especially it means you don't really care too much about obscured opponents, because if you get 6 hits, that goes down to 5. But your faction ability is all about rolling those 6s. So not crits, but 6s, because every time you roll a 6, you immediately generate a Wrecka point, which you can use immediately to turn a miss into a hit. So you're incentivized to roll lots of dice. Pretty much all your shooting is 6 dice, you know, unless you take crack grenades. But it's so much fun. And even if you take crack grenades, when you have enough Wrecka points banked up, you can suddenly make those crack grenades laser-guided crack missiles, which is really good. They are literally the Michael Bay kill team. If you like explosions, then you will love Wrecka Krew, because Wrecka Krew is full of explosions. They have explosions in both melee and shooting. As I said, everyone who can shoot is armed with some kind of rocket-propelled device. And, you know, you've got bomb squigs that explode. And then even in melee, you've got an operative with the tank hammer, a rocket hammer, which... you know, you always pop the button, but when you strike with someone, if you don't roll a crit, you do d6 plus 6 damage. If you strike them with a crit, you do 2d6 plus 6 damage. Also applies to yourself, but everyone you kill with the explosion generates you a Wrecka point. And it's really funny with the rocket hammer is when you don't use it on your first strike, but when someone charges you, you go, we're both going to Armageddon. And it's great. It's really good. Then you've got emotional support squigs, so they're expendable, so you don't really care too much if they die. But also, when they die, they generate Wrecka points. So even if someone just like shoots them in the open, because Wrecka points only care when you roll those 6s, it doesn't matter if because it always blows up when they die, even if there's no target, because the squig is still a target themselves. So always remember, when your squigs blow up, even if there's no one in range, they can still help you out by generating those Wrecka points. As I said, they offer a good balance of shooting and melee, so you can either go like all shooting, all melee, or a mix of both. You've got your Crusher Boy with his Knuckle Busters, which is 5-6 damage. He's also immune to crits, like you have to naturally roll crits. And he can like push people around every time he strikes them. Then you've got like your Breaker Boys, your General Fighters, who are 5-6 brutal in melee as well, which is really terrifying. And we've already touched on the Tank Hammer. Even your leader can either go with a rocket pistol, like dual rocket pistol loadout, so he can just like double fire effectively, or, well, and then he has a chopper, or you can just give him a giant hammer, so he's 5-6, which is really cool. They are tough gits, so everyone, well, your leader's 14 wounds, everyone apart from the squigs is 12. You even have an equipment option that can give you +1 wound at the cost of -1 movement, which isn't really the best thing. But also everyone has a 4-up save, so they are surprisingly tough. And then, as I've said before, where we're going, we don't need reliability. You will have games where you roll no 6s, you will have games where you roll only 6s, and that is the joy of living an orc. No matter what happens, Even in one game when you roll badly, you'll know the next game eventually you're going to explode with so many 6s, your opponent is going to think you're using weighted dice like a 40k player. But otherwise, they also get better when fighting or shooting. So when they do a fight or shoot action, they get +1 APL, which makes them more flexible, and that lasts until the start of their next activation. So they'll be +1 APL for the whole turning point effectively, so they can really be annoying when contesting points. They can spend a CP to double fight, but you can also maximize your stuff, so you can like charge in, fight, and then if you kill the operative, then shoot someone else, or shoot, then charge and fight. They're actually like really, really flexible. They kind of enjoy the new tac ops as well, and oddly, just speaking from a meta perspective, I think they're almost actually a meta threat, because they actually do well into a lot of the other kill teams. They're just so unreliable, you don't know. Like, you go into this matchup as a meta team going, oh my gosh, if they roll 6s, I'm probably gonna lose. But that's what's really fun. They're like the perfect Orky team, whereas Commandos were super sneaky, you know, purpley slimy gits. You got the Wrecka Krew who will just like literally go, I've watched all of the Transformers films, I'm ready to play into you now. Like, they're just great. They're really a lot of fun. They're just so orky. It's great. For me, they beat out Vespid just because Vespid can't do as many explosions. And also, I find they're more forgiving than Vespid. They're just so much fun. And yeah, you know, those little squigs, they can do work. Don't underestimate the squigs. But yeah, so for the overview, Orcs is the best, you know, because Orcs are the best, right? They've always been the most fun kill teams. I didn't put Commandos here because, like, you know, Commandos need a rest. They're going away, but they've been replaced by their bigger, more explodey brothers. But remember, fun doesn't always mean good, but the same applies for not always being bad. You can have a nice middle ground, which generally I think all these teams are. And, you know, that kind of applies heavily to, you know, Vespid, because it's like the bees, not the bees. Like, people, I mean, like, I was guilty of this, saying they were trash. They were trash. Now they're actually pretty good. Like, especially if you're a 7 or 8 wound team, you have to be terrified of these bees. They will get you. And even elites have to watch out because, you know, unless you can, like, for some reason ignore piercing, this team will just swim around you and just go, like, I'm in your face, buzzing around. I'll also here hold some radiation, which is great. And yeah, you know, Nemesis Claw, yeah, you know, we're getting another Night Lords kill team. And sure, they have jetpacks and they can fly, but they weren't the first ones. Nemesis Claw aren't a phase. They're here for at least 2 more years. And yeah, they're really thematic as well. You know, they're not as overpowering as they used to be, but they're still very strong. But yeah, I think this is a nice selection of 3 very good kill teams that, you know, are good, but not bad, and are generally easy to collect. You know, with Wrecka Krew, they are effectively a 2-box kill team, or you need like magnets, but otherwise they're really great, and they're all just fun to play and play into. Like, when I play into these teams now, I don't feel like, I know I'm going to have a good time regardless, and when I'm playing them, I know I'm going to have a good time regardless. Just remember, don't go in thinking you're going to win every game, but as long as you're going there for fun, these 3 are probably the best teams to pick for that purpose. But that's pretty much it for me today. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video if you found it useful and helpful. Remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, and a affiliate link at Elman Games, and a link and Discord code at Crossfire Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. And I'm just going to shout out my patrons. So for my adults of the crew, I have Tom, the Houston Toad, Super Cow, Sam, Nick, Mr. Meatwad, Marshall, Lucas, Graham, Fangzu, Draken, Dan, Dada Goldens, Chris, Alex, Morphium, and Alexis. So thank you so much for all your support. It really means a lot to me and helps support the channel. But yeah, I've been a bit laid back with the videos, partly because of like flying, but also because I've been painting so much. I've just finished painting my Canoptic Circle. I'm now working on my Death Watch. And yeah, then I need to paint my Tomb World terrain. I've got the London GT coming on this Saturday and Sunday. And then the week after, flying to America for the Las Vegas Open. So I've left it a bit slacking with the videos, but I'm going to catch up now. Also kind of needed a break. Like, the paint helped, but I needed a bit of break from making videos. So I dialed it down a bit, but I'm going to come back with some more stuff. I've now got a lot of videos to make, which is great. But yeah, I wanted to make a nice fun video. This one actually took me a lot of time to think about, and I really could only think of 3. Everything else I thought which was fun for me, I realized wasn't really fun for everyone else. And yeah, I just wanted something that was nice and simple. But remember, no matter how much fun you're having in Kill Team, you always have the most fun as long as you can roll a crit.